Today, it's the Detroit Lions all day.
I know you're done.
Turn that off. It's time for No Pad Sports Talk. Stay tuned as two brothers bring you the latest from your Michigan teams and beyond in hockey, baseball, football, and more. Let's get started. Here are your hosts, JD and Steve.
Welcome to another edition of No Bad Sports Talk. I am one of your hosts, JD.
And this is Steve, and you'll have to excuse my my opening. The brain wanted to say more, and the mouth wouldn't move.
I don't know if I should play the opening song or not. I'm just
I know.
watching you, and it's like I don't know what's happening.
It was there, and I'm like, what? No, I don't. Like, it was gone. It was. But today it's Lions. We're gonna be talking to Detroit Lions.
And that's why I want. See, it's a little harder than it seems, right? That's why I was like, okay,
No,
you do it. This
I knew
time.
it was hard. Like when we tried to come up with what we wanted to say, even before we go on, we're like, yeah, okay, that sounds okay. And then you say it, and you're like, we're working on it.
It don't
It's a work in progress.
Yeah. We're trying.
These are one of those things where we're actually gonna have to plan out more and actually start writing things down.
Maybe
like that opening is gonna have to be scripted.
Yeah. Opening is the hardest part, I swear.
Yeah. It's like I think in my brain I was thinking about the TV show How It's Made today on How It's Made. Right?
Yeah.
But today on No Pad Sports Talk, we're gonna be talking Detroit Lions. Stick around and see what's going on.
It's like you were saying, like, all day. I think it's like every day. Like, it's like you stopped. Like,
I did, because every day was gonna come out, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to say that.
Like, you
so
can't
I'm
say
done.
every day. Yeah,
not every day.
It's not every day.
But all day today.
Yeah. So, like, look, I mean, we've been doing a lot of baseball talk for obvious reasons. We kind of ignored football for the time being. We did do a lot of draft shows, when that was going on. But since the draft, we haven't really talked Lions. So let's take a look at some of the Lions and find out, and just have a quick conversation regarding Lions, right? Players, positions, rookies, what everybody's saying, that kind of thing.
Right. So on Sports Talk Detroit, YouTube channel, guys, right? I saw, they were talking about our defensive line, and that we're ranked number 4. That they're getting ranked here early is the fourth best defensive line
from PFF.
Yes. So, and that's awesome news when you think about where were we weak last year, right? Where have we been weak for the last few years when it was come to defense, right? So in the secondary, right? So if the defensive line is holds up, right?
Yeah.
Like there's going to be a lot of opportunities. It's going to make the secondary look better. It's going to make the linebackers look better, right?
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah.
Just like they talked about when that video I sent you, and I was looking at it. It's, if the offensive line is good, your running game starts to turn around. Your passing game gets better, right? Because you're able to hold blocks, you're able to move people, right? And it makes a huge difference when you have those lines in place.
Mm-hmm.
So, thinking about the defensive line, for the draft, or even through free agency, I was hoping they would, make a little bit of a splash on a defensive end to sit opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. I know we did sign the guy out of Minnesota. Hold on. I'll think about his name here in a second. It is Marcus Davenport, right?
Yeah.
So we did sign him. That wasn't the guy I was hoping we would sign. I was hoping we'd get the guy from the other side that signed someplace else, right? He was the one that had like 18 sacks last year.
Yeah, but he's also been extremely injured all the time too, like previously.
So look, I wanted somebody, and then maybe even pick somebody up in the draft. and we didn't do that either, right? There were
That's
guys
what I
I
was
thought,
hoping for. Yeah, the
right?
draft.
So, looking at what we got on the roster, right? You got Mark from the defensive end position. You got Marcus Davenport, you got Aiden Hutchinson, obviously, right? James Houston should be coming back from injury, right? You got Kaminsky, Levi, and I'm going to mess up his no, he's defensive tackle. Sorry, Josh Pascal. Apparently we did get probably an undrafted free agent Nate Lynn.
Yeah, we got a couple of them. Nate Lynn's one, and Isaac Ukwu.
Ukwu. Yeah. So it's not that we didn't get, bring in some defensive ends that were younger, but
and the guy from the Canadian Football League, the CFL, Matthew Betts.
Yeah. Yep. So we did get some guys in here, right? So we'll see what we have, right?
Yeah.
But you got DJ Reader we brought in, right? Just go alongside Aleem McNeil. Now, to me, if Reader, depending on how much he's gonna play, and if they're gonna be rotating them around, just last year, they kept our defensive line fresh.
Yeah.
Right. So they did rotate those guys in, which is great, right? Because you do keep them fresh, and it allows you to keep applying that pressure.
We also got Wingo too that we drafted, right? So, and I'm still wondering where his position's going to be. He seems to be kind of an undersized defensive tackle. Maybe you can move him outside, that kind of thing, in some plays. But
yeah, he's 6 foot 291. He's not a conventional defensive tackle, right? As far as size wise,
size wise, right?
What was he's out of LSU, so he played in a tough division, right? But I think they were more undersized because they do run the ball in the SEC.
Oh, sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. But was he more of a pass rusher, kind of guy, at his weight and height, just more for a speed guy. So be interesting to see where they do put him, right? Because even if they move him outside, right, he's undersized as far as height, trying to come around, like how long's his arms? Is he going to be able to get inside the tackle? To be able to make a push from the outside. And that would be my question.
He came from Missouri. That's where he started his career, right? So in the 21-22 season, he played 12 games, started 4, had 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. 27 total tackles. Yeah. And again, as a part-time role, not bad. Plus, he had an interception and a defensive touchdown. All right, so... in 22-23, when he transferred to LSU, he played 14 games, started 13, had 46 total tackles, 6 for a loss, and 3 sacks. 1 forced fumble and 4 pass defense. So, again, he's getting penetration, having 6 tackles for a loss, and 3 sacks. And 23-24, this past year, he only played in 8 games due to some injury concerns and stuff, and only 25 tackles. But he still managed to have 4.5 sacks. So he had his most sacks and his least games played in this last year. So, yeah, he is able to, get to the quarterback.
He gets to the quarterback, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, as far as when you're going to use him, is he going to be used on running downs? Is he just going to be coming in on obvious passing situations, right?
Right now, again, without seeing what they're doing, for any sort of like any other activities, team activities and stuff like that right now.
Right.
I would say, it's going to be on pass rushing downs. They'll probably bring DJ Reader out, put Wingo in on 3rd and long situations, something like that.
Yeah. And that, to me, that would make sense just based on some of those numbers. And just, I'm not saying he's not going to be a durable guy, right? Or that he can't play the position from where he's at. So I wanted to look something up because He was. Oh yeah, no, not close. Anyway, look it up somebody else. But like size wise, you can be short, but you can still have long arms, right? And when you're playing on the inside or even on the outside, you got to have that ability. You got to have the ability to get your hands out to be able to detach from the blocker, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Or you're gonna have to use speed, like a swim or a spin move to do that. And they'll probably run stunts and they'll bring him up and around, bring a guy down on the inside, he'll swing around on the out, whatever. But I think the defensive line, I think we're gonna be really good. Just looking at,
I believe that to be the case too. And just for the record, just so you know, in last year in LSU, he was in the B gap the most at 264 plays, 264 snaps. Over tackle 73, outside tackle 11, and in the A gap 38. And again, he didn't do a ton of games either. We just kind of talked about that. Only 8 games played.
Yeah.
And then in the previous year, he played 510 in the B gap and 201 over tackle and 69 outside tackle. So
he's playing outside guard.
And then
B gap. Yeah.
So he's not really a huge run stopper. This has come from PFF because I love PFF personally.
You love PFF. Yep.
His pass rush grade was a 73. His true pass rush grade was 77, which was all pretty high. Pass rush win rate was like 8%, but his run defense grade was a 75, and his run stop rate was only 3.4%. So that was pretty low. Yeah. So not the best there.
No, and at this level, when you're talking about the NFL level, I mean, the guys that you're going to be going up against, they're beefy, and especially in our division.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, be interesting to see how he's used as a rookie, right? And the hope is, you get to keep these guys around long enough to, get some good use out of them. So talking about that defensive line, let's move back and when you look at our secondary, it's different secondary, right? Mm-hmm. We brought in Carlton Davis, right? We drafted Terrion Arnold. We brought in Amik Robertson, right? We drafted Enos Rakestraw. We brought Vildor in last year, mid-season, right?
Yeah.
So it's different. Emmanuel Mosley hasn't played in 2 years. A couple of plays.
Right.
Right. And he's gonna, he won't be. I don't know if he's gonna be quite available at the beginning of the season or through training camp, but I would assume by week 6 you're gonna see him rotating in. And then last year there was a guy I wanted to see more of, was Stephen Gilmore. I felt like in the preseason he had a pretty good
preseason. Yeah.
Yeah. And I get it. It's preseason, right? And you can only put so much weight on, what that is. But, he's not a big guy at 5'9", 174, right? But, he showed me and his brothers, was Stephon Gilmore, right? Yep. So, when you think about, the family, the kid's got talent, so he's gonna, he could be a guy if he takes a big step in the preseason, see his stock rise and start sliding up into getting some more play time and as a rotational guy, right?
So just a quick FYI right now. So Carlton Davis is expected to be a starter on the outside for cornerback with Terrion Arnold. They're supposed to be projected as a 1-2 there.
Yep.
In the middle, right now it's looking like Robertson, because they do think that Brian Branch is going to be more of a safety. and that's and that to me is the biggest battle of all. Like, we talked about it a little bit, off the air, just talking about like, where does Brian Branch fit in? Because last year, and we got to be, last year, Melifonwu had a breakout season.
Yeah, he did.
Again, according to PFF, he had an overall grade of an 85.6, an 80.9 coverage mark, but a 92 pass rush grade as a safety, right? Like, I mean, he was very effective. He had a lot of turnovers. He had a lot of big plays just in general. So, and he's a pretty big dude. If I'm correct, he's around 6'3". Like, you don't want to move Melifonwu, but at the same time, you got Kirby Joseph as your other safety. So what do you do with Kirby Joseph?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and then what? Are you gonna play 3 safeties and 3 corners, right? And 4 down linemen and 1 corner and 1 linebacker. Like, it's really, I mean, because obviously, like Brian Branch is kind of a tweener. Like, he's kind of like a linebacker, kind of like a strong safety role, like in the box kind of guy who can cover, right? So maybe he's like, maybe you do play, with 1 linebacker, but just have Brian Branch in the box, as a coverage guy or whatever. Like, maybe we're gonna see a lot of those sets, but it's gonna be. But Kirby Joseph, of course, didn't have like such a great year like Melifonwu did, so maybe he just kind of takes over more for Kirby Joseph. And like, I think the way that they're going to deploy the defense this year, it's going to be interesting to watch. Like, what are they going to do with all these guys? Because your secondary is no longer a huge weakness like it was.
Yeah, no. I mean, Vildor was viable. Terrion Arnold, I think, is going to come in and, maybe not this year, but I could see him being an all-pro, right? I think he has the ability to do that. Brian Branch, obviously. Carlton Davis, as long as, he doesn't get bowled over by another, Lions running back, which hopefully that, now he's on our team, that won't happen. But, but when Emmanuel Mosley comes back, he's going to be a guy that's going to be a rotational player, right?
Right.
You got Brandon Joseph, Brian Branch, you got Amik Robinson, I think Enos Rakestraw is going to come in and start playing, some games, probably by week 6, you're going to start seeing it, because by then you start seeing injuries.
Oh,
right?
For sure.
And that's kind of why, like, if you hear when I talk about, I say week 6, and I say that when you talk about younger players, because that has them, their first training camp, their first preseason. They got 3 games of preseason, and then you're looking at 6 games. So they've got 9 games that they've put under their belt and have an idea, of what this is going to look like at full speed, right? So by week 6, if you're going to have a guy come in and step in, that to me is like, that's kind of the sweet spot, right?
Right.
So when you look at what we have, it's just it's really incredible. It's a completely revamped secondary, right?
Well, and obviously secondary is the big piece that they focused on. I mean, they got a couple draft picks going on in the secondary, plus all the trades, the signings. Like, they did a lot to bolster that secondary.
Absolutely.
But just in general, I'd say, like, this has got to be the best roster in the Holmes Campbell era, and it could potentially be the best roster that you and I have ever seen as far as the Detroit Lions go.
I have to agree with that, right? I mean, when you start seeing, okay, the secondary has been looks much improved as far as what we've got on the team. I think Jack Campbell is going to be really good. I think he's going to take a step up. The speed for him, I think, was what changed, right? And that was the adjustment I think that he was trying to come up with, where he needed to be. Like, I swear there were games where, like, Anzalone was yelling at him, like, get where you need to be, trying to get him to the spot that he needed to be at, right?
Yeah.
And he's got that full year under his belt now. And, he's got some game tape to see what he did wrong. He can make those changes. So, when you talk about this guy, he's 6'5", 243, right? He, when he was at Iowa, he got it done, right? He with his size, he was able to get into the passing lanes, knock things down, right?
Right.
So that's something that I really want to see from him this year. Not necessarily as far as like getting interceptions, but just knocking the ball down, right? And because he's at 6'5", I feel like he's at a disadvantage when it comes to the run game because of his height, right? Is he flexible enough to be able to get low? Okay.
Yes.
And I felt like yeah. And I think that he is. I felt like blockers were able to get inside of him and get on his body before he that's something he had to work on, right? So I'm hoping to see an improvement there, right? So when we start putting that stuff together, I just, the linebacker core, I know you said it offline when we were talking, it was probably, the weak area, right?
I am not a fan of our linebackers right now. Like, I mean, it's not that they're terrible. It's just like if I'm personally looking at this roster, you said the defensive line, is ranked number 4 for PFF, preseason rankings, number 4. And I can agree with that. Like the defensive line looks like it's going to be pretty good. The secondary, I don't know if you know this or not, if you read it or seen it, but right now the secondary, according to PFF, is ranked number 11 in the league. So
outside the top 10 compared to where we were, I'll take
compared to where we were, I'll take it too. And I think that has a chance to go up depending on how the rookies play. Terrion Arnold and Enos Rakestraw, like that. One thing I like about Rakestraw is the guy. He's kind of like a Brian Branch in a way. He's not afraid to put his nose down and hit somebody, right? Like I like Rakestraw's game in that aspect, but like so. But then you look at your linebackers, right? And I know, and I know Jack Campbell. You and I both like the guy. We like his heart. We like his motor, and we think he's going to take a step forward. I know Alex Anzalone had his best season, last year as well. But then Derek Barnes, I'm just not a Derek Barnes fan guy. Like I'm just not. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of 4-3 formations. I don't think the Lions are going to play a lot of 4-3 this year. I think you're going to see them do a lot of 4-2. That way they can have
be a
5 defensive backs.
Yep.
Because again, you kind of get like a linebacker-esque player in Brian Branch anyways. Like that guy is just like, and then Melifonwu, we just talked about how he had like over a 90 pass rushing grade from the safety, and he's seen the difference he made in some of these safety blitzes. Like, I don't necessarily think you're going to have to do like a 4-3. But anyways, with that being said.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Between Melifonwu and Brian Branch, I mean, and then you start, bringing in your corners if you blitz Terrion Arnold, right, off the edge, right?
I just think we have a chance to see exactly how creative our defensive coordinator is right now, right?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of pieces in play right now.
Absolutely.
And that's what's made, Pittsburgh. I say Pittsburgh specifically because I really love how they do some of their blitz packages. They kind of confuse the offensive line, the quarterback. I know Baltimore is kind of the same way, but I just think Pittsburgh does it better. You can.
Well, they've been doing it longer.
But I just love the way that, and I think you have a chance again with the Lions being able to do something similar, because the blitz can come from anywhere because everybody's capable at this point,
Right.
And that's one thing where Campbell needs to improve too. I think one of his weakest parts of his game too was his ability to blitz. He was a terrible blitzer. He got picked up a lot, wasn't able to get off the block, but at any rate, that's kind of going off track here. I guess what I'm saying ultimately is linebackers kind of the weak point. And I would love us to be able to somehow get like a linebacker. Maybe, hopefully, these guys can take another step forward. I think Anzalone is pretty much as good as what he's going to get. But who knows what else is out there? I don't know. I'm just saying. That's what I'm hoping for. Because that's the only really weak spot I really. Well, let me rephrase that. That's the weakest spot I see on our defense right now is the linebacking core.
So that's our defense, right? You know, when you look at special teams, if you haven't heard, we signed that kid Jake Bates from the Michigan Panthers.
Yeah.
To come in as the place kicker. For field goals. They've got him right now positioned in front of Michael Badgley, so that's going to be a battle that we're going to have to watch. The one thing about Jake Bates that I've told JD many times is that, the kid's got a big leg, right? Everybody knows it, especially if you're here in Michigan and you saw and you're talking about the UFL and you saw any of those games. This kid's got a big leg. He still was only a 75%. I think it was 75%. Is what his
77.3. He was 17 for 22. But
there you go.
But here's the thing, though. I'm just going to throw this out there real quick.
Yeah.
He was 2 for 2 between 20 and 29. 2 for 3 between 30 and 39. So he missed one there. 7 for 7 between 40 and 49.
Okay.
It's a 50 plus is where he missed, because he only missed 5 field goals all year.
Okay.
He missed 4 of them at 50 plus.
Okay.
So, again, I think that, to be fair to the guy, inside 50, he's almost an automatic guy. Automatic. Yeah.
Yep. And
then,
I'm okay at that point. I think our offense is much improved now, right? That we're not having to worry about kicking long field goals, right? Last year, what did we have to kick as far as field goals? Do you have that in front of you by chance?
What do you mean? Lions,
distances.
as far as
the Lions' distances, like their field goals.
I can find out real quick, but no, I don't have that in front of me.
Because I know we had 2 different kickers. Badgley was one, and
that's who I'm looking at right now is Badgley. Trying to figure out where he was. So last year, Badgley, he didn't try anything below 30. So 30 to 40, he was 3 for 3. 40 to 49, he was 1 for 1. He didn't even attempt one above 50.
Okay.
So he's 100% field goal percentage because of that. His longest field goal was only a 41-yard field goal. But he missed 2 extra points.
And those ones you gotta have.
Oh, they're automatic. You got to, yeah.
You've gotta have those, right?
And just for just look at his previous years, right? His best year for field goals was in 2018. He was 93.8%, and his longest field goal was a 59-yarder at that year. And he was perfect from everything, but only missed 1 50-plus yard field goal. That's the only one he missed. But then after that, he dropped down to 81.3, 72.7, 81.8, 85.7, 85.7 again. So this is what I'm saying. That's not the best, and he hasn't been. And a lot that he's missed has been between 40 and 50 yards. Like in 2020, he was only 8 for 13. 2021, he missed 2, so he was 16 for 19. Or I'm sorry, he missed 3. 16 for 19. I'm sorry. Then he had it's 3 different teams. So I was looking at this one. He's actually 16 for 20.
Okay.
So and then 2022 as well, he was 9 for 11 total with 2 different teams. So that's what I'm saying. He's not as great of a kicker as we want, right? That's all.
Well, the Lions for a long time, that was our greatest position.
Eddie Murray, Jason Hanson.
Right?
That's like 40 years of field goal kicking right there.
40 years of field goal kickers. It just, we knew what we had there. Right? So it's just been kind of a revolving door since Jason Hanson retired.
Well, we had, who was that? He came from Denver. For some reason, I'm blanking on his name, but he was pretty decent too.
And he was. And I think they got rid of him just in time because his numbers have been slipping.
He wanted a lot of money too, and they didn't want to.
Tie that up in
much.
kicker.
Yeah.
But I just, so on the special team side, you still got Jack Fox. You know what you got in him. Your kick
One
returners,
of the best punters in the game, really. Yeah.
Exactly. Like he was able to help flip field positions numbers of times for us last year, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you got to have that in a punter. So, and now when you look at our kick returners, we've got that new rookie. They're looking at kick returning, returning us, Baki, and then Khalif Raymond again at kick and punt or for punt return. So we kind of know what we got here, right? Our long snappers coming back, so and I think we're okay. Moving over to the offense, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Receiver is still a position for me, right?
Me too.
That's gonna right. Obviously, there's Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then who else, right? Everyone knows. Jameson Williams has the ability, but can he show it? Can he be consistent? We know when he's out there, right? Like the kid, he puts his head, he blocks, he's downfield, he's set, it hasn't gotten in his head that he doesn't get the ball, right? I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say. He is a team player, and I love that about him. I just, on the offensive side, I don't know that they've utilized his skills enough, right? The kid is extremely fast. I don't even know, can Jared Goff even get it out in front of him? I guess would be the question.
Well, we've seen it a couple times last year where he underthrew Jameson Williams.
Yes.
Because, again, nobody on the team is that fast. Like, he's not used to that at all.
Exactly. And the other side of that is now that's the timing thing that Jamo needs to be thinking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is, okay, I'm in front of the defender. Can I take, you got to be able to figure out how to adjust your route so that you can catch the ball and it doesn't fall incomplete, right? So, not saying that you're not going to come out and run your route full speed because you need to, right? But on the other end, as a receiver, you still have to be able to adjust to where the ball is, and trying to make an effort to go back and get it is what I'm saying.
So, if you remember, back in December, I believe, when they were playing against the Saints, Jameson Williams took that end around and he went in for a touchdown.
Yep.
And like, I remember when we were watching the game, we're like, wow, like he just exploded, right? Like he just got fired out of a cannon or a shot out of a gun, whatever you want to call it, right? Like he just exploded. I remember reading on that play, Jameson Williams reached like 20.7, 20.8, 20.9 miles per hour. Now they're people with pads here, right?
Correct.
And he's running that fast.
Yeah. So I think during the season last year, we talked about you got to be able to hit him in like a short slant, right? Or, a short crossing route, something, right?
Yes.
Get the ball.
Just
I'm
get
not
the ball
a
in his
huge
hands.
fan.
That's it.
I'm not a huge fan of the receiver screen because DBs are just too good today, right? To be able to, they sniff that out really, really well. So anytime we throw a receiver screen, to me, it's just like they're just trying to show something because they're going to fake it and they're going to run it deep, right? That's how I see that. So I'm not a huge fan of the receiver screen, but you got to get the ball into his hands. And if you can get it into his hands quickly and let him run with the ball.
In stride, right?
Yeah, and you got to hit him in stride. And I think the best way to do that is to catch him on a crosser or a slant instead of, just a deep go, right?
Right, yeah.
Because if you're just running them on a deep go, as soon as you hit that third step or 5 steps, whatever it is, in that back foot, you've got to launch it. If that's where it's going to go. Otherwise, he's going to be out of reach. And I think that's what we saw last year.
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, I was looking up the fastest runners last year. And the fastest runner was DK Metcalf. at 22.23 miles per hour.
That dude is a freak of nature.
Yeah.
He's not my favorite receiver at all, right? He's not.
He's fast.
I feel like he's a diva, but when you look at him, he is a specimen, right?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, like I see this guy and I'm like, there's no way you run that fast. There's no way you run that fast. And time and time again, he does.
He does. But so DK Metcalf is only in the top 10 or let me see, top 20 that one time. The players you see over and over and over again, obviously Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
His fastest was 22.01 miles an hour, but he's on here 4 times. 4 times.
Yep.
And then Devin Achane, the running back out of Miami.
Oh, God. Yeah. Miami had an explosive offense.
They did.
Explosive offense.
He's on there 3 times.
Yeah. And he was hurt, so he could have been on there a lot more. So he got hurt and missed some games. But yeah, and then who's the other receiver down there in Miami? He's no slouch.
I'm not sure.
I can't think of his name. I think he was in
Alabama. The only other Miami guy on here right now is Raheem Mostert, the running back there.
Yeah. And he's an older guy and still getting it done. But anyway, as far as speed goes, right?
Jalen Waddle you're talking about.
Jalen Waddle. Yep. So, like those Miami's going to be good till November. And then it gets cold and then speed doesn't help you in the cold. So,
you just don't move as fast.
Yeah, they got to figure that out. But back to the Lions, right? So, you got Jamo. You and I talked offline about Antoine Green, right? It's his second year coming out of North Carolina. He's a big guy, 6'2", he's got good speed, right?
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be a guy that's going to push Jamo. And maybe, he's instead of moving him out there, he'll take the Khalif Raymond spot, or take over or Donovan Peoples-Jones, right? And you could see Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamo, and Antoine Green as your starting 3 receivers, right? And
I mean, one thing I like about Antoine Green, right? He's pretty fast with the 4.47, but he's also got decent size at 6'2".
Correct. Correct. So he can still stretch the field, but he can also come across the middle. He's going to be a big body guy, right?
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a jump ball guy. He's not super tall, but he has the ability, right? And I'm wondering if they're going to run less 3 receiver sets, so that I'd like to see them run more 2 running back sets.
So here's what I'll say about that. And I am way in the minority on this. I 100% understand. And I don't expect anyone to even agree with me on this one. I want to see less David Montgomery, period. That's it.
I know you do.
I don't.
No.
I look. The guy is not. It's not like he's a bad guy. It's just that we have a much better player in Jahmyr Gibbs. That's
we have a more explosive guy, and I do get what you're saying, right? But
David Montgomery has a place on the team, but
he does.
But I don't think that's ahead of Jahmyr, and I wouldn't want to sacrifice right now. Anyways, I mean, we'll see what happens later on in the game. And I'm not against running a 2 running back set at all either. Right. I'm just saying, I don't want that to be something we run a lot, because I'm just not a fan of David Montgomery. I mean, I am, but man, I know what I'm trying to say. I just don't think that
the game tape shows
you only have so many touches in a game. Right? Only so many plays. I don't want David Montgomery to have too much of that share.
You got to look between 50 and 60 offensive plays, right?
Yeah,
that's roughly what you're going to get in a game. So if you split the difference, we'll call them 55, right? And if you're running a good ball control, 30 of those are going to be rushes, and you're going to throw the ball 25 times, right? You're going to want to have it as balanced as you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea. But when you look at the numbers, when you put them side by side, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, and you see it on game tape, maybe not even so much the numbers, but when you see it on game tape, the elusiveness and the power
and the vision
of Jahmyr Gibbs really showed last year.
Yeah.
Right? And when Montgomery would get it and he's got 3 yards, right? We come back, we run the same play with Jahmyr Gibbs and he's got 5. The difference is because he saw the hole and he slid a little to the right or the left and got that extra couple of yards. Right? So, you start looking at yards after contact, right? And what's the difference in yards after contact between David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs? But to me, Gibbs he wasn't flashy. There were times where Gibbs being a rookie showed, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. He wasn't perfect by any means. He made some. No. Yeah.
Instead of you got to be a north and south runner, right? You got to make that cut, put your foot in the ground, and you just got to go, right? I think there were too many times where they tried to swing him out too wide, and they're running him to the short side of the field, right? Like the play call wasn't quite where it needed to be, right? And then the blocking wasn't there. There were things that went not his way. But you've got to be able to put your speed on the field, and you got to be able to use it. And Gibbs showed that he could catch the ball in the backfield. He can run the ball. He's an every down back. And I think he showed that enough last year that we're going to see that, I think, a little bit more. David Montgomery is still shown as the number 1 back as far as depth chart.
Right.
But I think it's more of a 1A, 1B. Right?
Sure, I guess, but
I know what you're saying.
I don't want that to be the case.
I get it. But, there was a time where I was not a huge fan of the using 2 running backs, right?
Yeah,
but I was also an old school guy where, I wanted running backs back when, the 90s, early 2000s, they got, the more they touched the ball, the better they got. Right?
Yeah.
Now, their careers might not have been as long, and I get that because of the amount of contact, but, they're touching the ball, 350 to 400 times in a season, right? That's a lot of contact. But
so,
go
ahead. Here is what you were talking about. David Montgomery, yards before contact, he averaged 2.3 yards before he got hit, right? Okay. 2.3 yards before contact. He also averaged 2.3 yards after contact per attempt. So he's at 2.3 on both.
Okay.
All right. So, Jahmyr Gibbs, yards before contact, 2.7, almost a whole half a yard more before he gets hit. Yep. And yards after contact, 2.5. So again, he was still, 0.2 of a yard more even after contact per attempt.
He gets 2/3 of a yard more every touch.
Right.
Roughly.
And get this too, right? So overall, David Montgomery had 219 rushing attempts. Jahmyr Gibbs only had 182 rushing attempts.
Okay. So it's close. We're within 30, I guess. Those 30 different attempts. But okay.
David Montgomery had 17 broken tackles. So that comes out to 12, almost 13 attempts per broken tackle. Okay. Jahmyr Gibbs had 21 broken tackles. So 8.7 attempts before he breaks a tackle.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so every metric that we use to measure as far as rushing goes, because we keep saying, and this is something we talked about a lot during the season.
It was.
Jahmyr Gibbs is not someone you have to run outside. And we got so tired of them always running him outside and having, and having the defense know that's where Gibbs is going.
And
Gibbs is a hard-nosed runner. You can run him between the tackles, and the stats show it. He has more broken tackles. He has more yards before he gets hit because of his vision, and he has more yards after he gets hit. Like, there is absolutely, like, I don't know what David Montgomery gives you that Gibbs doesn't.
Well, yeah. And other than just a relief.
That's it. And I understand that, right? Like, let's give him a rest. So anyway,
and we could see that, right? I mean,
so
you don't know what's going to happen, but I think they feed the hot hand, right?
Here's something else too. All right, reception wise, the quarterbacks for Detroit throwing to Montgomery, their rating was 60.6. Throwing to Montgomery, the rating was 80.5. Like,
yeah,
I can go on and on and on, right? Like, I just, like, David Montgomery is not a bad back. It's just that everything should be flip flopped, right? We just talked about the difference in attempts. Gibbs should have more attempts. Like, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Did Gibbs have more receiving attempts? Was he throwing two more?
So Montgomery had 24 targets on the year, caught 16. Gibbs had 71 targets, caught 52.
Yeah. So when you look at overall touches, he touched the ball more, right? 189, 71, or at least target. Like, as far as
Montgomery had 219 attempts and 24 targets. So that's 243 total.
Yep.
Gibbs had 182 attempts with 52 targets. So that's 234.
Okay. You said 52 or 72?
234 for Gibbs and 234. Man, they're really exactly the same.
Yeah. As far as touches for the
between rushes and attempts for passes.
And attempts, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say they threw the Gibbs 52 or 72 times?
Gibbs had 71 targets.
71. Okay.
Oh, maybe I did his receptions, not his targets.
I think you did his receptions.
Yeah, I did his receptions. Yeah, so his targets was 253.
Yeah. So they obviously used him more, right? And he was definitely their passing guy.
But keep in mind, Montgomery was hurt for like 3 games, wasn't he?
He was.
So
and that's where we saw what Gibbs could really do.
Right. Yep. Because Gibbs played a total of 15 games, started 3. Montgomery played a total of 14 games, started 14.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just that the first number of games Gibbs played, he was extremely limited. They didn't do anything with him in those first few games.
No, they didn't.
Let me see if I can...
and then they started working him in, and then Montgomery went down and was out those 3 weeks, and that's when Gibbs got those 3 starts.
Yeah, so for the week 1, he only had 7 attempts rushing, but he still got 42 yards on those 7 attempts, 6 yards per carry, and he was had 2 targets and 2 receptions as well. Game 2, he also had 7 attempts, but he got targeted 9 times in the passing game for 7 receptions. And then week 3, that's when he had 17 attempts.
Yeah.
And Montgomery, is that when he went down? Let's double check it. Week 3 he did not play. He came back in week 4, 5, and 6, but he didn't play in 7 or 8 either.
Yeah, we when it comes to Gibbs, the reason I was talking about maybe only playing 2 receivers and having both running backs out is because Gibbs' ability to catch. Like they can line him out in the slot, right? Like or even come out of the backfield and put him in motion as he comes out that way. You know, like we saw a lot of that, and I just if you can. You do that. You utilize the skill sets that the players have.
Yeah. Let's see. Where was it at? I'm trying to find something here on PFF. Why am I not able to see what I want to see?
So, you know, our offensive line, and while he's looking that up, you know, our offensive line is going to be solid again. You know, there's always going to be that worry with Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker as far, you know, one, age, right?
Yeah.
Like, Taylor Decker was drafted in 2016, right? Frank Ragnow was drafted in 2018. And I get that, you know, that was not that long ago, but when you play the center position, you take a lot of beating. You know, because you got Graham Glasgow. I mean, he was drafted in 2016.
So every week he has a few plays lined up in the slot or even out wide.
Yeah.
Again, according to PFF, it got less and less though too. Like in week 12, he lined up 5 times in the slot, 8 times out wide. Right. So. Yeah. But then you're looking at divisional playoffs, only once in the slot, once out wide.
Mm-hmm.
And for the conference championship, twice in the slot, once in the wide. Like it got a lot lower. Yeah.
Well, I start thinking about when he lines up outside like that, a safety's going out there, right? Because
there's usually, but there's been times that a linebacker
goes out there. Yeah. Right. So, like the matchup it's obviously it's there, right? You know, so when they do that and they swing him out like that, especially if they line him up in the backfield and then motion him out, right?
Yeah.
So you only get so many timeouts to try and make the change to get the right personnel, right? So players are got to be able to move. So you're going to see a linebacker slide out, or that safety's going to move down, right? And when you do that, if you see a safety move down, you know, you can check at the line. Like there's so many things to do from the quarterback position when you start seeing that movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on the offensive side, look, we had guys got paid. Amon-Ra St. Brown got paid. He got the money he deserved.
Yes,
the kid has more receptions, more yards, more targets in a 3-year period than anybody. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's just been phenomenal. And he continues to play with that chip on his shoulder, and I love that. Right? I think players who do that remember where they came from and continue just to work hard to get better at their craft. To me, it's like a Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady might not have got drafted where he thought, you know, he could have been. Because if you go back and redraft that year, he gets drafted. No way he goes 199 when you see what his career was.
First overall.
He's first overall, right? So, but he worked hard at his craft. He learned. He listened. And I think St. Brown does that exact same thing, right? So you have that. Goff got paid, right? You know, what's his face? The tackle, Sewell got paid. Okay. So like that's an important piece that you continue to solidify some of that, right? Because tackle, receiver, and quarterback, they're huge positions, right? My only thing is that the last time Goff got paid, there was a drop off. right? And I say that about, it's not just golf. I say that about anybody who kind of got paid. Like they worked really hard, then they got that money, and then it was about continually to keep healthy, and they maybe not work as hard. Okay, that's always my fear. I don't know that that's these guys. I think they love this culture. They're part of the culture change. So they're not basic losers. They know what winning means now. They know what that looks like, and they know what that feels like.
Yep.
And honestly, we were a couple of plays from the Super Bowl. Right? Yep. I mean, that's simple. We were a couple of plays from the Super Bowl. So we make those changes. I think we could be a Super Bowl team. We could be a Super Bowl team. And we said that last year. All we really wanted was a playoff win last year.
That's all we wanted.
That's all we wanted, right? And we did. We got that. We got more than that. Right? Now you've got to change that goal. That goal has to be the Super Bowl. Right? Especially when you know you're only a couple of plays from the Super Bowl.
Yep.
No, some execution, some play calling, I keep hearing, all of these experts, they're talking, does Dan Campbell think about, okay, well, does he not go for it on fourth down as much this year? Right? And there were times where you and I did not agree with what he was doing. Right?
Right. Yeah.
But we don't get paid what he gets paid to make those decisions. Right?
No.
And on the backside of that, we know it's like Ron Rivera, right? They called him Riverboat Ron, right? Mm-hmm. Because he loved going for it. And Campbell's going to be that guy. I don't think that's going to change. I think that's built into the culture. That's part of who he is. And that's the difference is one guy, and I can't remember who said it. I wish I could because I'd love to give him credit for it because I thought it was really good. He says, knowing that Dan Campbell will go for it on fourth down takes the pressure off of third down. Right?
Oh, yeah, I see that point. Yeah, I see that point.
Right? So, like, if it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, right? Maybe you know that he's 8. If we can get close, we're going to go for it. So we don't need to get all 8. So the check down is okay. Because if you can get half or more, he may go for it, right? And it changes the mindset. I think and he said it kind of takes some of the pressure off the players when you think about, we got to get so many, you got to do this on third down or we're going to punt, right? That's not really what the Lions are. That's not how they're built now.
But I think we might see a little bit of a change for one reason, right? Because when you had Riley Patterson as your kicker when he started off for the year, the guy, he was pretty accurate, but he did not have a big leg. It was hard for him to kick over a 50-yard field goal, and about 55 yards was about his max. Like, you really don't want to go for over 55 yards with him.
Right.
So when you got down in that gray area, you don't have a kicker with a big leg to kick those field goals, and at the same time, you don't want to punt it from where that either. So why not just go ahead and go for it on fourth down?
Right.
Go ahead and take
because when you're in that midfield, when you're in midfield or just past midfield, right? When you're at the 40, they're 40, right?
Yeah.
You're not a punt is not gonna, unless you're angling it and you're trying to kick it out of bounds, right? Like that's your only play. Okay.
Yeah, that's your only play. Yeah,
that's the only play is kick it at the cone, kick it at the pylon or the front pylon, and try to put it right there. Right.
So, but I think this year might be a little bit different because, again, depending on if that new kicker they just signed, if he gets the job, he wins the job and stuff like that. Because now you have a kicker that can make it 60+.
Yep.
So, in that scenario, you might see him kicking more field goals as opposed to going for it because you have more faith in the kicker. Not just someone that can kick over 50 yards like Riley Patterson couldn't, but at the same time, someone that can kick over 60.
The problem that I still see with that is that what happens when you miss the field goal? Where's the ball placed?
Yeah, it's placed 7 yards further back than the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's the ball gets turned over on downs where the ball was kicked.
Right, 7 yards back.
Right? Yeah. So if we're on the 40, right, and we missed that field goal, that 57-yarder, right, they're already basically at midfield.
Right.
Right? So I could still see them thinking about going for it on 4th down. Right?
Well, they're always going to think about it.
Well, yeah. And always just because of position, where the ball is going to be if you turn it over.
But like, here's the thing you have to consider. If you have a kicker that's on the 45 kicking for it, so it'll be a 55-yard, ball's in 45, be 55 plus 7 yards. Yep. So it'd be like a 62-yard field goal, right?
Yeah.
But if let's just say you have a kicker that can make it 50% of the time.
Yep.
And you're on a 4th and 5, 4th and 6.
Yep.
Right? Like the percentages of you making it on, like what does the number say?
Yep. The analytics are gonna dictate that. But again, we've seen him not go with the analytics. It's like he went for it on 4th down and we were inside our own 20.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, we all thought that was stupid.
Look, the card doesn't say to do that. So, bottom line is, we know that he's an unconventional guy, and that's what people love about him. But on the backside of that, I said this last year, you live and die by it, right? He didn't change. Yep. Yeah, he didn't change who he was. It didn't matter if it was the playoffs or not. He played his game. He called the game the way he called every other game, right? Mm-hmm. And as much as we're like, we're thinking you're gonna win this game, just play it safe. Just play it safe, right? Don't give him an opportunity to have momentum shift. And he's like, no, I'm playing this game the way this is how we're gonna do it. And my guys are gonna show up, and that's and they did for the most part.
So I want to say one thing here about the Lions offensive line, because I know we talked about the Lions offensive line, right? I know we talked about it a little bit. But what I want to say about Lions offensive line is, I don't know if you or even people listening know, but they are actually doing an off-season. HBO is doing an off-season part of Hard Knocks right now. So, and the Giants are the focus of it.
Correct.
So, in the very first episode, the Giants were debating about Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
And during that discussion, the Giants director of pro scouting, Chris Rossetti, had kind of gave a compliment to the Lions offensive line. And that compliment was he was asking, talking to the Giants personnel, right? Like, did Saquon have his best year? And no, I don't think and I think he did the same thing. The other guys on the tag didn't either, but out of the guys, traits-wise, he had the most. Put him behind the Detroit offensive line, put him behind the Philly offensive line, there might be more value to another team.
Yep.
So, and for context, Detroit's offensive line is ranked number 1 by PFF too. So, right, like but even though PFF ranks number 1, even though we as Lions fans think we have the best offensive line, the fact that another team,
another organization,
that's talking about how good their offensive line is, like that's pretty cool. So
yeah. Well, you remember back when we had Barry Sanders, right? It was Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith every year, right?
Yep.
And we always said, well, Barry never got a lot of touchdowns, right?
No.
Like, most of his touchdowns is ones where he broke free for long runs.
Like 20 plus yards, yeah.
Yeah, right? And we always said, look, if Barry had run behind the Cowboys
offensive line,
if he had the Cowboys offensive line, he would have shattered the rushing record, right? Which he was going to do anyway behind the Detroit Lions offensive line had he played one more season, right? That's how close he was, and then he retired, right? And I know
He
for
played 10
Barry,
years,
it was never, for Barry, it was never about records. It wasn't, I don't know that anybody will truly ever know why he quit. And I know he did some HBO special? They did it on Barry. Was it last year? And I know I'm sure they talked about it and they brought it up. It doesn't matter, right? Everyone can say, hey, the running back could be better. I think Barry Sanders was as good as he was because he was running behind the offensive line that he had, right? It wasn't that our offensive line was designed and worked with the way Barry Sanders ran. I don't know that any other team that you'd have to adapt your offensive line to how he runs because he's not going to hit the hole. Barry goes, you're supposed to go, hit the B gap, and he goes from the right, and then all of a sudden he stops and he comes back and hits the left side because that's where it opened up because everything shifted down, right? You just didn't know where Barry was going to go. You just sort of gave him the ball and said, go. But it is nice. The Lions are actually getting some accolades, right?
Yeah.
I heard Jared Goff talking he was doing some podcast. When everybody talks about, San Francisco's this good. They got these great players. They got this. And Jared Goff's like, you know what? He says, I'm tired of hearing all about this. He says, Sewell was an all-pro, right? St. Brown was an all-pro. Like, we had our own guys who were good. Start talking about our people. Start talking about our guys, right? Just because I know it was 1 year and it seems like, but it's not, right? Dan Campbell's career in Detroit started out horrible. 0-10-1. Right?
Yeah.
Before they got their first win. And since then, he's like 26-17, I think it was. 26-17 or 26-15, including 2 playoff wins.
Yeah.
We have more playoff wins than the Dallas Cowboys.
That's right.
And the Cowboys go to the playoffs way more often than we do.
They happen, yeah.
Right? So stop not talking about our guys. That's all I have to say. It's time for people to realize and start talking about. I think real football people know how good the Lions are.
Yeah, I think the Lions are. This year, I think it's going to be telling, right? Like, is it going to be just a one good year and they fade off into like obscurity again? Because I think I was seeing like something like half of NFL playoff teams like don't go back to the playoffs again the next year. So could that possibly be one of the Lions? Would they be one of those teams? Yeah. And when you're looking around the league, everybody gets better year after year. This can't be. You can't just be happy with where you're at. You have to always, try to improve as well. And obviously the Lions did. We talked about as much, with the secondary and stuff. But look, I don't. We can't see the future, right? Like we have no idea how everybody's going to play. Maybe Caleb Williams is the second coming, and he just absolutely goes out there and kills it with the Bears, right? Like who knows? I don't know.
Yep.
I don't expect it to happen, but it could. So ultimately, where does this put the Lions? And
yep.
I do believe they're going to win the North again. I do think they're going to go to the playoffs again. But there's a lot of stuff that we don't know yet, even about our own team.
Right.
And that's what I'm really excited about the preseason for. I want to see exactly what they're playing. I know they don't really scheme during the preseason, but I want to see if the players made a jump. Like I want to see with my own eyes. I can read about it. People that's covering them right now. During all these the off-season stuff. But I want to see with my own eyes, and I can't wait until they actually put on pads. So,
yeah. So looking at, so we went through what the Lions' schedule looks like, right? And we were talking about the teams that they're playing. Over
It
half
looks
their
rough.
games,
Yeah.
over half their games are against last year playoff teams, right? It was like 8 games. I think it was 8 games were playoff teams from last year.
Yeah, I mean they start out pretty rough.
On the cusp. Yeah,
because the first 2 games is Rams and Bucks.
Yep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have the 12th toughest schedule in the league.
I thought it'd be tougher than that, but that's interesting. Okay.
Yep. And now this is through Sharp Football Analysis. It's a website. I just went in and was looking. So it could be different, depending on, where you get it from, right? So this is going to be Fox Sports. Toughest, from toughest to easiest. They have the Lions at 11. So it's about the same. And this is from Fox Sports. So, but it's not. Our division is not going to be easy, right?
No, not at all.
Obviously, Green Bay is going to be a force, right? I think.
I hate saying that, but yes.
I know. I do too, because I was hoping that Jordan Love was going to be a big bust.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And while he wasn't great at the beginning, by the end of the year, when the kid was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you're going to get in Caleb Williams, but I can tell you right now, Chicago did something for Caleb Williams that they didn't do for Justin Fields, and that was giving him weapons. Right? So Caleb Williams doesn't have to win the game for him. He just needs to get the ball into his playmakers' hands. So Chicago could be tough. On defense, they're going to be tough. We already know they're going to be tough on defense. So that's also going to help a young quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And then when you talk about Minnesota, I don't really know what you're going to get in Minnesota. At this point, I'd say they're going to be the last team in the league, right? And I think they're going to be the last team in the league by a long shot. But when you talk about divisional games, it's always tough, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't matter. When the Vikings are going to be playing. No, that's not the best. Northwestern. Sorry, I'm getting my college teams and my NFL teams. But anyway, with the Vikings, who's going to be quarterback? Right now, JJ McCarthy is not going to start.
I would hope not.
Right. He's not, and I'm a huge Michigan guy. Right. I thought he got overdrafted. I still believe that. I think, is he good? Absolutely. Does he have the talent? Yes. Right? Like the arm talent, he can make the throws. He put on the extra weight. You could see it when he was at the combine. You could see his stature was different, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, they did bring in the guy he played for San Francisco last year, Darnold?
Sam Darnold?
Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold was going to start, right? But they got some offensive weapons. I mean, Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, right? They got T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Get some running back. I mean,
yeah. They got weapons, dude, for sure.
They have weapons. So, and defensively, they're not too shabby. So, bottom line is, while I still think they're going to finish last in the league or in the division, it's going to be tough. Divisional games are going to be tough.
They always are, right? Black and blue division, going back to the old days.
And I think that's where we're going. Like we're bringing back the old black and blue, because it was.
Yeah.
They just beat on each other. So I think the Lions could win the division. My early prediction is I'd say that Green Bay is going to win the division, and that's hard for me to say. But I think Detroit gets a wild card.
I'm going kind of off topic here a little bit, but you know what? Who I'm actually excited to watch
What's that?
this year? C.J. Stroud.
Oh, yes. Can he grow in his sophomore season, or do we see the sophomore slump?
Right.
Because he's got weapons too. Holy cow. Does he got some weapons?
I'm
Kid is
excited.
smart. Football smart.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud, best Ohio State quarterback in the NFL.
Oh, easy.
Easy.
Yeah. I mean, now that Nico Collins, man, like I'm happy with him, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm glad that
He finally got someone who
he's
could
there.
throw him the ball.
And now Stephon Diggs.
Oh, come on.
Right? And not only that, right, but they signed Danielle Hunter. That's the guy you were talking about earlier. You wish the Lions would have signed, but they signed Danielle Hunter. They got Kamari Lassiter in the draft. They still got Will Anderson Jr. They got Robert Woods now too as a wide receiver. They got Dameon Pierce as a running back. They signed Jeff Okudah. Like, I don't know, man. Like this team, it seemed like overnight they got better. They also signed C.J. Henderson. I was actually kind of hoping that the Lions would have signed C.J. Henderson. I think that he can still be a pretty decent quarterback. I know he's been really bad, but and they still got Derek Stingley Jr. too. Like I think he was hurt last year. He didn't get a lot of play time, but like I am a big fan of this Houston team. I know we are Lions, centric, but my goodness, though, like I am really liking what the Houston team is putting together, and then their coach, right? I don't know. I'm pretty excited for this.
Yeah. So, and the Houston plays in the AFC South, right?
Yeah.
Who is in the South? Gotta think about it now. Houston, Colts, Jaguars, Titans. Okay, so let's talk about young quarterbacks. I know we're like running on time, but like, football wise, think about this. You got C.J. Stroud playing for Houston. You got Richardson going to be coming back for the Colts.
Yeah.
Right. Jaguars, they just signed their quarterback.
Most expensive deal, Trevor.
Yeah.
Lawrence.
Yes, Trevor Lawrence. And then the Titans got a guy. Will
Levis.
Yeah, Will Levis. Like, he didn't start at the beginning of the year, but he came in, showed that, he had some control of the offense, got a big arm. I think he's going to show some growth this year. Like, think about how young, like, Trevor Lawrence is the oldest guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
Like, that's ridiculous when I think about it. Right? When Trevor Lawrence is your oldest quarterback in your division, like, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. That's all I can say. I'm getting old.
Yeah. No, I mean, the quarterback play has really elevated in recent years, right? Like,
yes.
But I don't know. And I know, this is, again, going off topic, a whole other thing here, but with the Rams, too. Because not just Stafford, but, like, who was the, dang it, who's the backup quarterback out there?
For the Rams?
Yeah.
He's no longer there. Darnold was, wasn't he? Last year. Sam Darnold was the backup.
Stetson Bennett. That's what I was trying to think of. Stetson Bennett.
But he was on. He didn't play last year at all because he was on some medical thing.
Yeah, and then they got Garoppolo, I think, now too. But
oh yeah, he's definitely only a backup. and he's only going to give you 3 games.
Yeah, that's all he's going to give you.
Garoppolo's only going to give you 3 games.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy though.
Stetson Bennett was a guy we liked coming out of college.
Yeah,
he was a freaking winner.
That's all he was. He just won games, and he proved everybody wrong year after year after year.
You know, he had some issues last year. They took some time off of football. Yeah, right. So, but not just that. I think he had a thing with maybe some alcohol too, because I thought he got a DUI.
Oh man, you're right.
You remember?
I mean, there was yeah.
And I think that was kind of part of it. So I think they were all tied to depression and alcohol. It's you use one to help with the other, and neither one of them are good for you, right?
No, yeah.
So he took some time off football. It sounds like he's going to be back. So I think he's going to be pushing for a backup role, as long as he stayed in shape, of course. But
I just did a Google search on him. The very first thing I got was from the Royal Tour website. It's basically looks like it's like part of the LA Rams website or something. But anyways, this was written May 28th. And it says that Stetson Bennett confirmed Tuesday that he spent last season back home in Georgia after going on the reserve NFI list. Bennett declined to go into specifics on his time away from the team, saying he wanted to keep that in-house. Other than confirming it was related to his mental health, he said it'd be accurate to say that it fell under the umbrella of mental health was all I really said.
Yeah.
But yeah, but looks like he's back though. That's good.
Yeah. So I'm going to be excited to see what he can do, because I thought he played in a couple of preseason games and he looked good in the games that he played. And then it was like the first 2, and then that was it. That's all you saw him. And then he didn't report.
Yeah, let's see. Do they have anything in Pro Football Reference for him?
Like I said, bottom line, he was a guy we liked coming out of college because he was just a winner, right? And he would do whatever it takes to do that. Team player.
Yeah.
So.
But no, they don't really have anything here for that. But anyway, I was hoping they might have something for it. But
yeah, I couldn't remember if it was played any preseason or it was during mandatory camps where he was supposed to report and he didn't report. It was something, but either way, it doesn't matter. I hope he's back. I hope he's healthy. Had some time to take care of himself. It's important. I know we look at it like, he's playing a game. He's playing a game. Look, there are so many other factors that go into an athlete than just their talent, and it's important that they go and they need to take care of themselves. So.
Well, and also just we're big proponents of mental health anyways, too.
We are.
Yeah.
So, but before we start rambling on too much, because we could probably go on and on and on. It's football.
Yeah,
Football's
an hour
coming
and a half
up
already.
Look, yeah, we are. Lions training camp, regular training camp starts July 20 something. I think I looked 28, 27. Whatever it is, end of July, so it's coming up. And preseason games start in August. Season kicks off early September. Let's go. And the Lions got the Sunday night football game to kick off the first Sunday night football game against the Rams.
Oh, wow. I don't know what Sunday night. I didn't look at that.
Yep.
Detroit Tigers won today, too, by the way.
Hey! Did they score more than 2 runs?
Yeah, they got 9 runs. That's what I was going to already say.
9 runs.
Because remember, I always say there's always one game in a 3-game series that they get more than 5 runs or more.
5 runs,
and that was going to be today's game. So
that's today's game, and they're playing the Twins.
They had 4 home runs this game, dude.
Oh.
Carson Kelly hit a grand slam.
Oh, nice. Colt Keith.
He went 2 for 5. He did not have a home run.
Okay.
It was Matt Veerman had a home run. Riley Green, Carson Kelly, and Winfield Perez. And Riley Green went 3 for 4. He needed it too because he was ice cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. But nice.
Well,
anyway.
when the people that you need to hit start hitting, you can see the difference in the team.
Zach McKinstry went 0 for 3 again. Can we get rid of Zach McKinstry already? Gee whiz, man, that guy.
Nope. He's filling a roster spot.
And Kyler Montero, he started and got his first win today.
Yeah.
So
did you see the
6.1 innings? He only gave up 2 runs.
See the article I sent you on McGonigal? Is it McGonigal?
Yeah,
was that?
but yeah, he was the fastest riser, and the we got to do a show on that thing. Honestly,
yes.
Because the prospect list got updated.
Yep.
And I wouldn't mind going through the prospect list and kind of seeing, where everybody's ranked at. But yeah, I know he got jumped up there, which is not surprising at all, considering the year he's having.
Yeah. So, tomorrow, the next day.
Yeah. But
we don't want to overload anybody with a lot of content, but, he's off and I'm off, and we got some time to catch up on some stuff.
Yeah, it's been a while since we talked football, but anyway. Yeah, we got to do that too. But appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.
Yep. Take care.
Thanks for listening to No Pads Sports Talk. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at No Pads Sports Talk.